This might be my new favorite way to make beats. What's up guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today I'm going to be showing you my process for using the Arturia MicroFreak together with the Roland MC-101 to make some futuristic type beats. And it isn't in the way you might be thinking. Instead of syncing them via MIDI, I'm actually using them entirely separately. I will take like a Saturday morning or something and just tinker with the MicroFreak, design some patches from scratch, try to get deeper into the synth engine, and often coming up with new sounds will often lead to me coming up with new riff ideas. And the rule for me is just record them, don't worry too much about the timing, just record them, I can always come back to them later. Eventually, once I've got a few of those, I'll quickly bring them into Reaper, chop out the good takes, bounce them as WAV files, and then bring them into my Roland MC-101 via the SD card. From there, I can actually start to flip those samples I've created for myself over the course of the week. Whether I'm on a lunch break or just in a little snippet at a time, I typically take the 101 with me a lot of places. So I've got these really unique sounds played with the really unique playing style that the MicroFreak lends itself to, just in there on the 101, just waiting to be inspiration for a full beat. And I want to play a couple of those for you today and show you how I made them. All right, let's start off with the MicroFreak patch for the first beat. And I'll pan the camera down in a second so you can see what's going on with the key bed. But first of all, let me walk you through this. And actually, let me hold this down without putting more skin on the key bed. Because there's some evolution going on here that I think is super tight. So first of all, I'm using the chord filter, obviously. Just one key chords. And I believe I have this set to 9ths. And then the shape right here controls the waveform. I have that modulated by the cycling envelope, set to be an actual envelope, so it slowly changes the shape over time. And you can hear that as it progresses. And then, of course, the main kind of ridiculousness is this modulation. So let me move this down and show you. Which is a really cool feature of the MicroFreak, and I love it. So the way I got this effect is a couple steps. Essentially, there are two things going on here with press. First of all, I have it sent to the cutoff, and so as I move my finger down, the cutoff gets wider and wider open, and this assign to, which is the rate of the LFO, changes because the LFO is also sent to the filter, hence the cycling wubby sound. Modulating the rate speeds that up. And by the way you set that is you hold down the assign button right over here, and then you just twiddle the knob that you want to affect. So in this case, the LFO rate. And so the more skin I apply to the key bed, the faster the LFO goes, and therefore the faster the wubs get. And that's kind of the main gimmick of this patch. A bunch of evolution and the ability to very dramatically change it just by changing the amount of pressure, or technically the amount of skin. Moving on to the MC-101, this is the raw unprocessed beat. So this is fun. I played this stuff in unquantized, got some stuff off of Splice and whatnot. And then there's also these little sound effects that's just built in, as with this train sound effect. And I've pitched it around a bit to get it to actually be part of this wonky, lopsided, unquantized groove. It gets lost a little bit in the mix, but I think it's a cool touch. Up next, bass. This is a sound that is available in my sample pack. This is just a sample. And I've got the glide turned up a bit. So then in post, I actually went ahead and sidechained this to the kick. Synth track. You've heard that already. And finally, this, I believe, yeah, this is a random patch from their random patch algorithm, which I absolutely adore. And then in post, I actually went in and processed it a ton with some kind of shimmery effect using the brand new plugin from Baby Audio. And that just took the shimmeriness of this really over the top. But I love the filter movement it's got going here. I love the ping-ponging. It's a really cool patch and it works really well for this vibe. And then also note that I do have the scatter sent just to the sample. I use this repeat one quite a bit and the tape stop one quite a bit. That worked quite well for the vibe that I was going for. And then once again, I recorded this into my computer multi-track, added some distortion to the bass, sidechained everything to the drums, added some compression and reverb, and that's your beat. Moving on to the second beat and the second patch that actually sparked the second beat. This one right here. This one's actually fairly simple. There's not a ton going on here, but there's a lot of really nice little bits of movement. So first of all, this is using the virtual analog engine. You've got the detune up just a little bit. Let me reset that here. The timbre is being modulated by the LFO, which is in the shape of a sine, and it is going fairly slow, kind of arrhythmically. Reset that again. You can hear that bit of movement. And then the cycling envelope is also acting like another LFO. So this is, first of all, sent to pitch just a little bit, and then it's being sent to the cutoff quite a bit more. And I do have the resonance cranked quite a bit. You can hear that. That's too much. Just kind of rocking back and forth. And then the envelope is also sent to the cutoff. So the effect that that has is that the envelope slowly opens, but it's also changing continually. And that's set to ring out just a little bit. And then, of course, the thing that really sparked the whole idea was making aggressive use of the pitch bend. So like I said, fairly simple patch with a lot of subtle movement and making very good use of the combination of the virtual analog engine and the actual analog filter. And back to the 101. Here is the raw unprocessed beat once again. Pretty straightforward this time around. A bunch of this stuff is built-in stock drums from Roland kits. And notice how I've got a bunch of these percussive elements panned left and right. In case you're wondering, you go to Shift Sound, select one of the pads, and then you can change pan and a whole lot of other parameters. And then also, for those of you wondering, I've showed this before, but at the very end here, you hit Sequence, and that lets you change the micro steps of any percussive element, in this case, the hi-hats. So fairly straightforward, the drums. I'll come back to that. This is a modified preset. A couple things that I did to it that are worth noting. First of all, I added some glide. Definitely gives it a bit more swagger. Changed the cutoff, changed the resonance a little bit. Made it so it rings out quite a bit less, so I could just kind of hold it down rather than hit it once. Changed the decay and the release, so instead of just pressing it and then having it ring out, I would just hold it down to have it sustain. And then in post, I distorted it a bunch and once again sidechained it to the kick. There's a sample. And then finally, let's talk about this element right here. I need to feature this more prominently in a whole other song. Once again, this is generated with the pad algorithm, which I've been absolutely loving lately. I'm not convinced that these are even remotely random. They've really tuned this thing to give you good stuff. I think the only modifications I made to it were adding some reverb and cranking the vibrato a bit, so it does that warble thing like it's playing through an old tape player. Definitely leaned into that kind of synthwave vibe. Very appropriate for kind of space trap as well. And that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more related videos, you can click or tap somewhere on the screen. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you leave it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more like it. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit.